Hello, everybody. We have a full board member complement. For people who may be wondering why we only have 8 members, you may recall that Cody Barr has resigned from the board, and we have 1 open seat at this point in time. So we have our full complement for tonight's meeting. First item after the pledge is approval of minutes from July 13th, 2022. I'd entertain a motion.
So moved, Ilda.
Motion by Ilda, second by somebody? Katina. Any questions, any changes to propose, edits to the minutes? Okay, hearing and seeing none. All those in favor of approving the July 13 minutes, please indicate by raising your hand. Okay. It's unanimous. I couldn't see beyond you, but that's okay. Don't worry. So next thing is public comment, and Moises Flores has signed up to speak during public. If you could just go up to the podium there and press the little button on the mic.
Green means go.
Yeah. And you have 3 minutes.
You hear me now? My name is Moises Flores. I'm from Windham. I just talked to the superintendent a little bit. This happened in last August. I had a little problem with my daughter in school, and they were trying to expel my daughter from school after 2 weeks at school, and found out, I think they need to send the faculty and staff to like a class how to be like with parents, because one of the principals was very rude to me. She never apologized to me. Yeah, and when I see her, I just walk away every time I see her. And where is a problem in school? I called the school. They never return my calls because that happened already. But what is the problem with my kid? They always call me quick. They don't waste the time to call me. And I understand they have to call me. But when I call, have them return my calls, please. I'll give them a couple of days. I understand they're busy. They're not just waiting for my call. They're waiting for other people's calls. And that's what I'm saying. And I just saw something about the track, about the football, about third field. When they do the third field, I work for Eastern Connecticut University. I hope they know, when you do a third field, you have to have a special equipment for that. I don't know if that's part of the budget or whatever, special equipment, and they want to pay like it's snowing. You can't just plow, regular plow there. We got special machines for that. It costs a lot of money, but it lasts a long time. Third field lasts a long time. They're better because they just replaced our field, and it took like 20 years, that field, and it just got replaced. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flores. Appreciate you coming tonight. There's nobody else who wants to speak during public comment? Okay, seeing none. We're on to board chair's report. I don't have anything new to update folks on tonight that isn't going to be discussed later on in the agenda, so we'll just keep moving through. And so now we'll go to the superintendent's report and hand it over to you, Dr. Youngberg.
Thank you very much. Before I jump into what's actually in the board packet, I just want to make sure the board members received my email earlier today in regards to the Windham Center oil tank issue. We have our director of facilities here if there's any specific questions. But the oil tank at Windham Center School is being red tagged, or was officially red tagged today, which means once the oil tank is empty, they will not be refilling it. We'll need to come up with a temporary above ground solution so there won't be any impact to the opening of schools. In the email, we gave you the actual date that the oil tank was placed in the ground, which was September 1st of 1989. So it's past its 30-year, I guess it has a life expectancy of 30 years. There have been some issues with getting the oil tank replaced. It is scheduled to be done the summer of 2023, and hopefully this temporary solution will take us to that point when it can be taken care of formally. So I don't know if there's any specific questions. Like I said, Dawn's here if there is. Okay.
Do board members have any questions on that? Mark?
I guess my question would be, why does it have to wait till 2023? This is an emergency situation, actually.
So there were some delays, but Dawn, if you want to go to and give us the specifics on that.
Yep. So, I mean, we necessarily don't have to wait till 2023 because we have a state project number. And given we got that project number late in the year, it was difficult with the supply chain to get a tank going. That's not to say that if we needed one sooner, we could possibly get one sooner. There's a hearing, I have a hearing with the state on Friday at 10 a.m. to discuss this further. From my understanding is in the hearing, first and foremost, they want us to actually take the oil out of the tank. You can only have a minimum of an inch or under. So once we get the oil out of the tank, then they may allow us to get a temporary tank to get us through. And they're looking for timelines. They're going to ask for specific timelines. And talking with the state today, they said that once we get the oil out, they're a little more flexible on we don't have to do it right away. And I was in communication with Tlb Architecture, who's helping us with this project. And the reason why we want to try to be able to wait until the summer is because of the state getting the reimbursement from the state. If we do it now with the environmental company that did all these checks for these testings for us, the town's we're gonna have to pay the full amount of the oil tank replacement. So we already have a project number there. So if the state will allow us to wait until the summer or further into the spring, then we'll get the reimbursement from the state instead of paying the full amount.
Okay, so the state has no capacity to do an emergency replacement because now there's a leak in the tank. So it's a whole different situation to just replacing a 20-year-old tank. We now actually have a leak in the tank.
Correct. It doesn't appear like the oil isn't leaking into the ground. There's water getting into the oil tank. So we have water on top of the oil. They may say that. Again, we have to wait for the hearing on Friday to get more details. But the lady I spoke to today, she was basically kind of giving me the rundown. And they don't want to fine us, which is good. So we won't have any fines, for this.
Do you have any more questions, Mark?
I would just want to hear more after the meeting, but don't defer to
Yeah, and we do have a school planning and design meeting scheduled for next week. And so I'm assuming central office will bring us a report at that meeting and send a report to the board based on Dawn's meeting on Friday. Okay, so there could be more discussion at Brendan's committee next week. Brendan?
Dawn, more of a logistical concern. Obviously, the oil is for the heat there. What is the hot water fuel source at that school? Is it the oil as well?
Right.
Okay.
And again, talking with the state, she said possibly that the state may not have a problem of us having a temporary storage tank, to get us through until we can actually replace it with a permanent one. Because again, we don't want to throw something down there, underground and then have to dig it up and waste.
Right.
We don't want to waste money, but also, it's an emergency. Obviously, we want to make sure that, rectify the situation as fast as possible, but without throwing money out the window as well.
Has the environmental consultant said anything about the availability of a temporary tank? Are they just with all the supply chain issues and everything right now?
She's positive that she'll probably be able to find one, but again, this was late in the day. After I met with the state, I did contact her about removing the oil. There's about, I want to say, maybe like 2,300 gallons of oil left. We could probably, if they could skim the water out of the oil, we could possibly put it into North Windham's tank. I don't know how much is in there. I have my guys checking how much we have in that one tomorrow morning, and we could move from there.
Okay.
But she was pretty positive. She said, don't freak out about it. She was pretty positive, and it may just be lines too. She said she believes it's the lines, but unfortunately, because the tank is past its 30-year. That's what really red tagged the.
Yeah, thank you.
Katina?
Provided that there is a tank to be put underground, is there any way to beg the state to to give us the money and the reimbursement ahead of time, since it's an emergency and winter is coming? I'm sorry.
You can dream.
I wish it worked like that. Yeah, I wish. I don't, it's normally not the way, but, you know, it can't hurt to ask.
Right, and again, it gets a little complicated because we are working with Fire Architecture, who has the contract to have that removed and replaced, but then we have Crop Environmental that's doing this, this emergency job. So they're also, I got them all, we're all talking together. So again, we don't want to just throw money out there, but we want to resolve this, and we want to open school up on time as well. So that's the main goal.
I don't think we're going to resolve this here tonight. I think if people have more ideas and questions, they can certainly go through the superintendent's office to ask Dawn, but Brendan will be the point person in his committee on helping us figure out how we navigate this. That makes sense, Brendan?
Yes,
And Dawn, thank you for your report.
No problem.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that wasn't on the agenda, but go right ahead.
And I have one more thing not on the agenda, and that is just to remind the board that back in April or May, C.H. Barrow STEM Academy received the Green Ribbon Award, and at that time I let everyone know that we were sending a small team to Washington, D.C. Yesterday was the actual ceremony where they were formally presented with the award. It was live streamed, so I actually got to watch them walk across the stage and receive the award. So Principal Tim McClure, Assistant Principal Bob Kalasian, Barrow staff members Christian Colliger and Pat McMahon all walked across the stage. I actually did a screenshot of them, so I have a picture of them receiving the award. It was a really nice ceremony, and I just want to say congratulations to Barrows. We're incredibly proud of the federal recognition, so just wanted to make sure you knew that. And now, unless there's questions about the Barrows Green Ribbon, I will move on to the agenda.
Well, that is very exciting.
Good stuff. Okay, first thing on the agenda is the what we presented to the board, what we're entitling the Notable Alumni Program, and that is a proposal to start recognizing or to start forming a committee that will help us to recognize notable alumni from Windham High School. I believe it's a discussion item. Is it a discussion item? It is not a discussion item.
Yeah, it's an action item.
It's an action item. So it's an action item for the board to consider. I did get some feedback from the board members about the process, so I appreciate those that reached out and gave me some things, gave Holly and I some things to think about. But our ultimate goal is to really highlight Windham High School, improve their reputation and continually remind the region just how amazing the school is by showcasing these amazing alumni. So more to come on that and the action. I don't know if there's any specific questions or things you'd like to share now.
Do people have any questions or comments about that now? Okay, it's great. It's an interesting, great idea to acknowledge greatness among our alumni. So now you're on to the next thing.
Correct. I'm on to communication with Tlb Architecture. So Tlb Architecture is a firm that has expertise in historical buildings. There is a walkthrough scheduled at Natchog School on August 1st at 11 a.m. We are going to walk through with Tlb Architecture in hopes of them presenting us with a proposal that would identify the differences between renovating a school like Natchog that was built in 1913 versus renovating any of our other elementary schools, which were either built in 1953 or 1959. So given that they have expertise with historical buildings, we felt that this made sense to at least get a deeper understanding of what that might look like. Questions or?
Everybody on the board is invited to that walkthrough if you are around and would like to attend. And also, we'll get a report, and we will then, as a board, hopefully be able to take action on whether or not we want to engage them at a future meeting, right?
Yeah. Correct. Okay, next on the agenda is just a reminder to the board that the State Department of Ed reached out last week and formally identified Windham Middle School as a focus school, or as they're now calling them, a TSI school, Targeted Support and Improvement School. So Windham Middle School is our only school that qualifies for this additional support targeted focus areas based on their current achievement levels. I can tell you from the presentation that we'll have tonight from the new executive principal, Carlos de la Barrera, that his transformation plan fits very nicely into what the state is expecting from us in terms of all the information that I shared with you. So there'll be more to come in either August or September. I will be formally presenting to the board how we're making those connections for the state so that we're in compliance with the state's plan for Windham Middle School. But I did provide the board with all the information that I was provided with, and I will keep you apprised as to any new information, meetings, connections, and things of that nature related to the middle school's performance. Any questions?
Okay.
And last but not least is just to remind everyone that we are in week 3 of our summer program. Just yesterday, I walked through our summer programs in both sites with Mr. Guy Stella. He is a retired superintendent, and he is our ESSER advisor. He's been working with the district since they first gave us the ESSER funds a little over a year and a half or so ago. He was very impressed with our programming and with how engaged and happy our students seemed in the learning process. Always nice to hear someone from the outside tell you that they're impressed. We went to both Barrows and Windham Middle School and saw classes in our ESY program, our elementary program, our middle school program, and even our credit recovery at the high school level. So so far so good. I would like to see our attendance rates at the summer school be higher than they are. They're somewhere in the 70s at this point. So we've been having some discussions at central office about how we might increase attendance at summer school. Most especially because we know that we capped the summer school based on our staffing. So there are potentially slots that kids aren't showing up for that other people were told they couldn't come to. And so we really are looking for kids to come to summer school every day for the 20 days we've set aside for them to be there. So I will report out at the end of summer school on any updates to attendance and, focus areas. But I just wanted you to know so far so good in our expanded summer program. Any questions on that?
Any questions?
August 5th, Friday, August 5th.
So when we have our next meeting on August 10th, we'll be able to get a little report.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. So that's the end of the superintendent's report. So now we're on to the workshop discussion, and the board is very interested in what's going to be happening here with the new role that Mr. De La Barrera is taking on. And he was asked to come tonight and give us an update on things.
Yes, so I think someone's going to give him the clicker or be responsible for the clicker as he's presenting. Okay, Neil, thank you. Okay, so Mr. De La Barrera is our executive principal of both Windham Middle School and North Windham School, and I want to thank the other leadership members. I see Amy Majak, the associate principal at North Windham. I see Joanne Haddad, assistant principal at Windham Middle School, and Mr. Harnett, Matthew Harnett, associate principal at Windham Middle, so they're here in support of Carlos. We've already gone through the presentation. I hope that this presentation leaves the board feeling happy or content with what I think is going to be a very exciting school year for them. I am especially impressed with the way Carlos has set out to use the expertise of his leadership team, and in getting them to help establish some pretty clear accountability structures. So I'm going to hand it over to Carlos, and as I mentioned earlier, this presentation fits in perfectly with what the state is expecting from us. So Carlos, it's all you.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for having me, and thank you for all your support coming tonight. So this transformation plan is something is a work in progress. You were in charge of the nominations not too long ago. So since then, we have been working as a team together to put all this plan together. So, but we still work to do, obviously. But we wanted to give you at least an idea of what are the structures and the expectations and how things are going to be moving forward throughout the year. Yes. So the way it's organized is in 4 areas of focus: organization and leadership, school climate and attendance, and also academics. Just to give you an introduction of myself, my leadership style is collaborative 100%. That's how I always work in all my work experiences with different districts in the past, and I'm continuing to having that approach. And then always guiding my work were 3 principles: the academic achievement, respect and empathy, and equity and inclusion. So really the main focus that we need to work on here is school climate and culture, attendance, academic achievement, and we're going to be focusing specifically on math and ELA. So this is just a chart that shows you the organization. So on the left, you have the middle school. On the right, you have the elementary school. So my job will be to supervise both schools and also focusing in the middle school specifically on the dual language program. In the elementary school, I will do the same thing, something I will continue doing. So I was already doing that. And I will spend 60% of my time in the middle school and 40% in North Windham. Within the not yet. Yeah. So within the middle school, we have 3. Also, we have 3 administrators. So Mr. Harnett, will, which is the associate principal, will be supervising math. So the math program school-wide. So it will be 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. In addition to that, he will be continuing with the 7th grade duties, responsibilities that he was already in charge last year. Then Ms. GP will be in charge of the ELA for the 3 school-wide, grades 6 and 8, and continue with the same assignment as she has last year with the 6th grade. And then Ms. Haddad will be in charge of the climate and culture, and will again continue with her same assignments as last year, supervising 8th grade. And then on the side of the North Windham, we have Ms. Majak. She is the associate principal, and we are in the process of hiring a dean of students, and we have 5 candidates that we already have scheduled to interview this Friday. Okay. So my responsibilities will be continue with the school improvement at North Windham, lead the transformational plan at the middle school, and as Dr. Youngberg mentioned, the expectations from the state. So they are aligned with what I already look at the document to. It is not different at all from my previous schools, which I've been working as an school improvement facilitator. So I already have seen all this. This was mandatory. Every year we had to complete that same form or that you have that we just received from the state. So I'm very familiar with those areas of improvement and expectations. I will manage both administration teams, teachers and staff, and also supervise, again, as I mentioned before, the dual language. And the middle school will be my focus, and also continue with the dual language and elementary school. Additional responsibilities will be establish a collaborative approach to include all stakeholders in the decision making. That's crucial. We need to have everyone on board, and we have to work as a team. Address achievement gaps that exist in English language learners, and students who receive special education, increase student performance in those summative assessment, SBAC and PSAT, and then evaluations, observations of staff, increasing school participation in academically competitive clubs and events, promote a diverse school governance council, and also supervise the dual language program. Regarding the associate principal and assistant principals at Windham Middle, each administrator will be assigned to one of these three, and we already assigned that. Again, it was a collaborative approach, so we discussed it, and we decided that one of the administrators, so there will be Ms. Herat, will be supervising the school climate and culture across and attendance across the 3 grade levels. Then our associate principal will be in charge of math, and Ms. GP will be in charge of ELA. So the administrators' grade level responsibilities are going to be the same, basically the same as they had before. There will be a few adjustments, of course, because when we are asking them to supervise grade levels 6 to 8 in those areas, climate and culture, math, and ELA, there will be a few changes that we'll be making. For example, with evaluations. So if it will continue to be even, but it will make more sense that someone who is collaborating closely every day with this team of staff that evaluates them. Observations, and we're changing a little bit the way that we're going to be doing classroom observations. We're going to be shorter classroom observations, but more frequent. So we had a better sense of what's going on every day and monitoring a little better the implementation plan of this transformation. Then lead data-driven instruction meetings and PDs, implement the behavioral management plan that we have, supervising also the common areas, support the special programs, collaborate with HR with talent recruitment and retention, and support building services and other jobs as needed. And they're already performing that. They were performing that last year. So we're trying to make changes in areas that are really going to impact the student achievement, and those other areas we're trying to keep a continuation of what's going on. So the areas of focus are going to be student, staff, and community. For students, we're going to focus on student engagement, respect for the school and each other. We're going Oh. You keep your finger out, it'll stay on. Okay. Just so people online too. Awesome. Thank you. Sorry for that. And then for community, we have to revert this perception or trying to improve the perception and the reputation of the school, middle school in the community. Okay. Suspension rates. So this is a baseline. So we just put this information for you to have an idea of historically how we were doing at the middle school. So you see from 2016 to 2019-20, we have an increase of the percentage of suspensions. And then with COVID, of course, it went down. Students were not in the building. And then we have a 20% in 21-22. And then our goals is here also to go back, revert to actually the green bar that you see should be blue because that's something already happened. But we're going to try to revert to that low 20% in 2022-23, and then go back to the 20% in 23-24. I want to just mention that normally when you implement a new culture and climate, usually you have a spike on suspensions. The expectations are going to be very clear, and reporting is going to be also very, we're going to be, really do it. And that might spike the numbers. What I've seen in my schools in the past, after that first change in culture, the expectations are clear. Now the students start understanding what is expected from them. Suspensions go down. So that's why you would see that we start at 25%, that's our goal, and then move down. Yes. So the strategy is really implementation of a new behavioral procedure, and I will spend a few minutes in the next slide explaining a little more of that. Then PD is addressing the behavioral policies and expectations school-wide. We need to be very consistent. If we have policies regarding, for example, use of electronics, cell phones, we have to be very consistent throughout the whole building. Then we're also going to promote stakeholders reporting of bullying or any concerns, any hostility. So one of the ways this type of approach work is when we promote a sense on the students that is their duty to report any hostilities. And it's not only towards them or towards anyone else. I think we all know that that's how we're moving in general to prevent serious cases of violence in schools. The earlier we catch them, the more reporting we have, then we can act and prevent those. It's no different for these students. And what we're doing is also, we are training the students and we're preparing them for real life. And this is what we are going to be promoting. As administrators, it's very important that we have a timely and effective response when we ask to intervene. So that's part of making sure it's not only when we're asked by the staff, but also when we're asked by the parents. We have to be very responsive of any incidents. And we all know bullying starts very, it could start like something very naive, but we have to catch it right away. And that's where we're going to be focusing, prevention. And then involving staff, administrators, and parents to team up to be part of the solution. We would like to make sure parents understand that we're a team, that we work together, that when there are behavioral consequences is for the good of the student. That's what we will always be thinking when we proceed with any consequences. And we need to make sure that the parents understand that we're trying to help their students, and we're not confrontational against them. So initiatives will include analyzing the fall and spring parent surveys that the district is going to be implementing, and then acting on that and making sure we look at that data and fix what needs to be fixed. Communication has to be not only inside of the school, but with our community and our parents very fluent. We're going to implement and continue implementing I don't know what's going on. You gotta let it go. Just let it go. Now it's working.
No, let it go. There you go.
Oh,
You don't have to hold it.
my finger was just tumbling over. This technology, anyways. Okay, and then monthly staff appreciation initiatives. A lot of the things I'm presenting right now, the things I implemented in my previous district. Is nothing new. The monthly staff appreciation, those who are in the elementary school, we were doing that. That's something we schedule. It's not that something we do every once in a while. It is scheduled. Every month we have appreciation for our staff. Then empowers the students, and we had that example also in the student council at the elementary. We had a lot of examples of what we did there. Social emotional learning, we're going to continue with that trend and looking for things that make the students feel better. And then any other additional ideas. And we have Ms. Haddad in charge of supervising this. So we're working already on some of the ideas that we have and planning ahead and scheduling them. So we will make sure that by the time we start the school, we have all these activities and all this planned. So in this case, her responsibilities are going to be the implementation of a new behavioral protocol. And that's when I wanted to spend a minute only explaining what that means. So when we're looking at implementing a very solid and very effective school climate, we need to make sure that the protocols are in place, meaning teachers need to know exactly when they're going to be reporting behavioral issues. Also, when there are crises, they need to know when to act, when to call the crisis team. And all this is to ensure that we minimize the disruptions during the day and also that we support the students. The earlier we act, the easier it is to return to the normal class for the student who had who was in crisis, and then also it is less disruptive. So that's what we're aiming with this flow chart. It worked perfectly fine, and I shared some of the outcomes before about the elementary school. But this is something we have been doing again in other districts before, and it's very effective. We're going to monitor the implementation and participation of staff, parents, and students in extracurricular engagement activities. This is all about engagement. We're going to analyze and collect the student, parents, and staff school climate perception surveys. That's what we're going to, Ms. Haddad will be doing and sharing with us the outcomes. And then she will lead the attendance meetings, and follow up with action plans, and report progress to me on the student behavior reports, staff attendance, and stakeholders attendance in activities that we are implementing to share with the community. The risks are pretty much what always happens when you change the culture of a school, which is we are all used to on certain way of expectations on looking at things, and so any changes are going to be difficult for everyone. Ms. Haddad will be also in charge of attendance, And so this is the chronically absent chart that we have from 2016 to 2022. And so we see a spike in 2021, 21, 22, 43%. And then these are our goals. Our goals is, again, to decrease that this next year by 10% and then continue decreasing the absenteeism. The action plan to get there, it will be focused on 3 areas again: student chronic absenteeism and truancy, of course, staff chronic absenteeism, and then promote a student-centered professional responsibility approach. The strategy will be climate-focused administrator will lead the attendance meetings, as I mentioned before, then improve the staff communication with parents and problem-solve attendance barriers. Many times we fail to do that, to ask the parents, how can we serve you, how can we help you? And it is amazing how many times by doing very little, we can really improve a lot the attendance of their students. Increase student engagement, and that's when we're going to implementing all these activities that will make the school more appealing to the students. Risk and mitigations are, again, any change will be something that will be difficult for the stakeholders. But what we're going to do is we're going to try to mitigate that by creating more inclusive, more collaborative decision-making approach with our parents and staff, and then focus on student-centered culture. I think we have gone a little sideways with that, and we have to go back and ensure we always understand that we are here for the students and for the academic achievement, and refocus on that. So academics, as I said before, we have 2 administrators in charge of supervising school-wide 6-8 for math and ELA. So these are the ELA SBAC data that we have from since 2015, and then we see a decline there from 29% to 18% in 2021. And this is the math SBAC data. And again, we have a small increase every year, as you notice, 1%, and then a 2%, but then a decline to 7% this past year. So the goals are going to be to improve 5% at least for this next year, another 5% the following year. And then improve also the percentage of students achieving the growth target. And we'll have the data coming in August, so we will be able to set the goals there. And the action plan, I will be focusing in these areas, which is promote a school culture of academic performance excellence, shift from fixed to growth mindset. Regarding the SBAC, already mentioned that background mapping in the instructional approach, data-driven instruction will be key, and then, as I mentioned at the very beginning, frequent administrators visiting classrooms, observing, and giving staff feedback. And then provide also, PDs are really relevant to student achievement. Again, the goals for 2024 are 10%, which is 5%. Hopefully, we are looking at minimum 5% for next year, another 5% for the following year. Expand the number of students at grade level each year after 2024 by 10%, and then promote that are at grade level. We call it level 3 and 4 in SBAC, which is a grade level, and then promote an academic achievement school climate. So we need to make sure that that climate that we are promoting is focusing on achievement. The initiatives we're going to be implementing are providing PD focus on summative assessments. That's part of background mapping theory. So you need to know exactly what you're going to be asked in order to know what you're going to be teaching. When we're talking about, and I'm going to get a little bit on instruction here, but when we're talking about standards, Common Core standards are very clear, but they're very broad also. So what we need to know is exactly what are the type of questions, what is the level of rigor that our students are going to be facing in the summative assessments prior to starting to build our lesson plans and our interim assessments. So that's what is called background mapping. You start from the end, looking at what is your goal, what does your students need to know, and then build backwards what you're going to be teaching. So that will be a big shift, I think, of what we're doing to make this improvement. We're going to identify students with the potential to turn around in a short term timeline. And what that means is we're not looking at just students who are, close to be at grade level 3, 4 in the SBAC. We're going to look at students who have the potential, and not always they go together. We have seen that in recently in the elementary school. We have students in one of these focus groups, and they improve. At least they all were at least one grade level below. And then they all got to grade level. A few of them, at least was one that was 2 grade levels below and improved to a grade level. So 2 grade levels in a few months, in a year. So that's what we're talking with, identifying these students. We're going to celebrate, so the idea of all this is celebrating the academic accomplishments. Students like to be like any of us. We'll like to be, recognized for our efforts, and that's what we are doing. Then we're to be focusing, exposing students to college and career organizations and professionals. I have done this again in my previous work. We were bringing professionals who looks and speak and have the same culture as our students. And they see that reflection that, okay, now I can do it. Yeah, this person looks like me, but it's a very successful person in the community. I think it's very important that they see that. We're going to identify staff strengths and use them as models and coaching for the staff. We're going to identify also the areas of need from staff and making sure we support and provide coaching for them. And then, again, we're going to continue with short and frequent classroom observations at the middle school. So the associate and assistant principal's accountability includes that report progress on student academic improvement, data regarding the interim assessments we're going to be taking already in SBAC, and then progress on those small groups of students who are going to turn around in a short period of timeline, and then student, staff, and parents' level of engagement with this initiative. So the risk that we're facing right now are staffing, as we know. We're working very diligently on that, so that's part of the mitigation. But that's something that is a risk right now, including math and ELA teachers. And again, we're in the process of hiring, so it seems like we're in a good track right now. And then the culture changes is always something that is a risk. When we're moving to data-driven instruction, it is something that it is a change. It's a big change. So that's part of the risk, but we're going to work together as a team to make that happen. I think, and then questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
that's a lot. I'll just speak for myself. It's a lot to absorb. And I think, many of us on the board are very concerned and really want to have regular conversations and reports on how things are going.
Yes.
And at the last board meeting, I know you were away, but at the last board meeting, and in conversations I've heard from board members that they would that this is not going to be the only time we're going to be talking about what's going on at the middle school and the turnaround plan and things of that sort. So we look forward. I will just speak for myself and the rest of the board that we'll look forward for this to be an ongoing conversation. And I would just like to say that we'd like to not only hear from you, but other teachers and administrators in the school and, maybe at some point parents and other folks, so that this is a full and open work in progress. And I know that we are working on the details for our board retreat and other places, and I'm sure that there will be more things that come up that the board wants to hear about. We have some time, though, now, if anybody wants to ask any particular questions, and I'll start with Mark. Oh, Mary was first? Okay, Mary, go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, this is a lot to absorb, and I had hoped to get more information earlier for myself. I'm going to start with a couple of questions and concerns regarding the climate, because I do think that's a very urgent concern, and it has been, and I have been in the district for a long time with children who went to the middle school, and I will say it's a chronic problem that has not been solved. So, for example, when you talk about the administrator's other responsibilities, you say implement daily behavioral management and supervise students in common areas. So can you give me a concrete example of what that would entail?
Yes. So I think that we also made copies just in case, because we anticipate that this will be something that will be a concern. So we made copies of a flow chart that we implemented in elementary school. I don't know if you wanted to, Ms. Holly will share that with you
Holly
in the
will hand
meantime.
them out.
Let me answer your question more specifically. Yes. So I think it's all about expectations. When the students know exactly what is the expectation for them. For example, students, bell rings, students are in the classrooms. That's an expectation not only for the students, but for the teachers. The teachers are going to start teaching. So the expectation is that those administrators are going to be ensuring that the students by the bell are all in the classrooms. And that's how we start the day. The day also starts with students coming in uniform. It is very important that the student understands when they cross the line into the building that there's an expectation, high expectations regarding behavior. So that includes also their uniform. Uses of cell phones, that's something it is consistently should not happen anywhere. So unfortunately, at the beginning, there might be, as I said before, there will be consequences, and we might see a spike in reports of suspensions or consequences, but it's part of their understanding of, what are the consequences. Yes.
Yeah, I would just like to follow up right there because, and thank you for the examples. So with the suspension rates, trends, and goals, and you said there could potentially be a spike, and I'm concerned to hear that because I would envision a new plan starting out kind of from a very positive place, and having, again, putting the expectations very clearly out for students, the staff, the parents, the grandparents, the guardians. Mm-hmm. but with a progressive idea of discipline. So to me, the idea would be, I don't know what will happen with suspensions because I don't know what is happening to people in their life. However, I would like to think that there is something before suspension and some ways of positively encouraging students. You catch them with the cell phone during class, so of course that has to be put away or whatever the clear rule is, but it's not suspension after 3 times, So I was concerned that you said there could be a spike because I feel that that is kind of giving, a parachute to the administration, and I'm frankly very concerned that the school move in the right direction, and to have a positive change take place, we first of all have to say the students are capable of that, and we are not expecting suspensions to go up. We are expecting students to be aware of where, and so I would like to know what the kind of progressive discipline.
Yes. Yeah, so you're right. I mean, there's a lot of work before this happens. So we're talking about suspensions is overall throughout the year, and hopefully they might start at the beginning of the year. We're not saying that right away going to start, but it might start and then they will decline. But the concern is this one. There has to be very clear expectations. When I'm talking about clear expectations is we're going to be very proactive, getting into the classrooms, explaining to the students what are the expectations, same for the parents, and constantly going. That's something we have done in the elementary school to make that progression. It is making sure everybody understands, and giving them some, like you were saying, some time to adapt. But what might happen is, again, if this is a culture that it depends how long might have been in place, like you were saying before, it is something that you have seen throughout the years. It is difficult to change. It is difficult for all of us to change. So expecting that, that the students are going to understand and then comply right away, I don't think that's realistic. We are going to do a progressive change. But for example, we're talking about behaviors, hostility, of physical aggression. Let's put an example of physical aggression, yes. Physical aggression not only affects the people involved, but everyone who's witnessing that. We know our students are, especially our students who are urban students, they have, what do you mean? Yeah, sorry.
I just don't want to have a kind of conception.
Well, we have 80% or around 80% of minorities, correct? Around that percentage. So coming from schools, urban schools like worked before is kind of the same population, yes? They need to feel very safe in the schools. We are responsible to make the school a place where they really feel safe. Many of the students were the parents are undocumented, for example. They feel very unsafe even in their homes, in their neighborhoods. So we are responsible for make the school a very safe environment. So if we allow physical aggression to happen in the school, then we're promoting a sense of lack of safety in the school. So if we are getting to the point in which a student, after, we talk to the students, we're going to have an assembly actually the first day of classes, explaining the expectations, we're going to go to the classrooms. It's all part of the plan. But if we have a student engaging in a fight, we need to give consequences. We can't just say, well, it is okay, you're learning. So that's what I'm referring to. There might be a spike. In my schools, the physical aggression was close to none, because that was the expectation put right away. And when I took over that position, there was a spike because students will keep, we're used to reacting that way. So it took a little time, but at the end, when we opened the high school, We hire a lot of teachers with a lot of experience in other high schools, and their comment was consistently how well behaved our students are. And they were coming from my elementary school, my middle school, into the high school. So it is, I know it is a good plan. I think the parents are going to be very thankful to see that the school is in control and that there's a climate that is a safe climate for everyone.
I think we're going to move on to Mark.
Yeah, I'm fascinating as I'm listening to this, but as I listen to this and I read the report, I'm seeing about a month's worth of professional development time required for the staff. I don't know how you accomplish all of what you want to accomplish, especially with the staff, to get them in position to start with the students on day one. And then you add into that your academic achievements, and then you want to do intramural sports, and we want to do clubs. We don't have enough staff already. I'm really concerned about getting the staff on board first, because that's going to be the what you need, and that has historically been an issue at the middle schools, getting the staff on board as a team. How do you plan to train the staff or to bring the staff up to speed with these changes?
Yes, so you're right. I mean, the nomination came like a few weeks ago. So it was very little time to start working on all this. But we already had 2 meetings with the staff. Yeah, so we invited them to come, and then we have a discussion of the changes we're implementing. We're going to have another one, and then we also are planning on having one that we will be compensating them for their time before school starts. So we're planning on that too. So we're trying to be very proactive at getting everybody on board, as soon as possible. My concern is at the same time it is your concern, because putting a lot of pressure, even on myself. I mean, responsible for all these changes, and my team. But the reality is we don't have much time. We need to move forward as fast as possible to make this happen. I think that it needs to be happening, and I think we don't have that much time. We need to move forward with all these changes. I think Dr. Youngberg can talk a little bit about the changes that happen at the elementary level, and I think that's why one of the reasons I'm in charge of this transformational plan. But
no,
yeah,
I
it will
certainly
be
agree
challenging for sure.
I certainly agree that we need to make the changes. We've needed to make the changes for a while. My concern is, if I can use an analogy, is that you get the staff on the bus before you take off, before the bus leaves the terminal. It sounds to me like the administration might be already charging ahead with these changes before you've got all your staff on board. I'm really concerned about the staff operating as a team and understanding, really more than anything else, understanding what it is you're trying to accomplish and become part of that process. There's 3 days prior to the start of school. Are we using those days for professional development?
So we have already given Carlos and the middle school team the ability to pay staff members to come in this summer. Obviously, the staff members have to be willing and able to do that, but we've already given them that opportunity, because they do have in addition to these changes, there's a new master schedule being implemented next year. So there's a lot of changes. I think the concern you have, Mark, is actually the concern of every school that opens up, particularly in the Alliance District. Every single Alliance District school feels exactly like you're talking about. We don't have enough time before the school year starts. We have a formal plan, a structure. He'll hopefully see the middle school staff before the school year starts. He'll see them at the first staff meeting, which is August 29th, right after convocation. We have a professional development day on the 30th, and then the teacher's new contract actually gives them a full day in their classrooms on the 31st prior to school. So you're absolutely right. There's not a lot of time to formally address some of these things, but I'm hoping they'll use their time wisely and continue to address them throughout the month of September. They have staff meetings every Monday, three a month, so they'll be using those as well. And they have data team time, they have collaborative planning time. This is going to be infiltrating everything they do. And hopefully through a good communication plan and a sense of team like you're talking about, they're going to be able to pull this off. But I feel like every Alliance District school feels exactly the same way. We could have our teachers for 2 weeks before the kids come and still feel like there's more work to do. It's just the nature of the job. So I feel like this is a strong plan, and just the flow chart, for example, is going to eliminate a lot of the confusion that may already exist in the building and sort of take that away. But you're right, it's a monumental task, and there wasn't a lot of time from the time we finished the interviews, and I made the decision to make the leadership structure the way it is. But we're going to do the best we can because the kids deserve us to do the best we can. So.
Paula? Go ahead, Paula.
Very quickly, and this may be a discussion for this may be more of a discussion when we meet in September, but given the kind of low percentages of kids who are at grade level, that's very concerning, obviously. And I know a lot of what you're saying will make an impact on that, but I'm also wondering about instruction. You know, it's a middle school, and I remember years ago, there was a difference between the junior high school and the middle school, engaging students in more group types of activities, more hands-on. Are there some plans to change perhaps some of the way we provide instruction that will more engage students?
I actually can answer that because we've already implemented a brand new literacy and numeracy program at the middle school, and a focus on project-based learning, all designed to engage the student, meet them at their level, and take them to the next level in terms of achievement. I am equally as concerned about the middle school's achievement levels. It's been a concern for a while. COVID has obviously been in the way of our response to that concern, but there's no more time left. It has to be the focus. And it is in order to move student achievement, adult practice has to change. That's the only way you move student achievement. The adults change their behaviors and student achievement moves. That's how it works. So that's what he's proposing, a process, a structure to move adult behaviors in support of our students. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you.
Katina?
Ilda also had her hand up.
Just, we'll get to you all, so don't worry. Ilda or Katina, I don't care who goes first, but one of you can.
So, all right, I echo Mary's and Mark's concerns, Mr. De La Barrera, if I can call you Carlos. I understand behaviorally that once you implement a program, there are spikes on behavior to test the system.
Yep.
My main concern are not the students. My main concern is the staff, all the powers to be that are in this room, that would not either, that would understand and practice to the letter the consistency of the program, that there would be no undermining of anybody. But last and not least is, where are the parents going to be taught about this? How are the parents going to be involved? And what's the approach to that? Because we have to change our behavior to engage those parents.
Yes.
And so the teachers need to have the training and all, you know, be consistent. It's the engagement of the parents that worries me the most.
Okay.
So like going out into the neighborhoods, I keep saying that as a social worker, that's where they are. That's where we need to go.
Yeah.
So, of course, I always want to be everybody's social worker. Use me as you need, as a whatever. But yeah, in the board here, I am concerned about the same things that others are saying, plus the parents and the parents' understanding of these expectations.
Yes.
But if the adults don't change, the kids won't.
Exactly. I agree 100%, and we already have 2 meetings scheduled, I believe it's for next week or the following week with the parents.
Next week, August 2nd and August 3rd.
Yes, so we have already that schedule. We already sent the information via robocall. We're sending marketing. Dr. Yamberg is going to announce that on Friday too. We want, like, you're absolutely right, we need the parents to be on board and understand what's the changes are coming and be part of the team for sure.
I know Ilda's next, but I just want to say that we can't expect that in having meetings where parents are invited to come at a designated time, and there are only two of them, that's going to be enough. So just urging you all to be creative about parent engagement. Not to criticize doing that. That's that's the right thing to do. But there's, as Katina says, there needs to be more, and that may be something that the board and other parent organizations and groups in town can help with. So we should just be thinking about that. It shouldn't all fall on the administrators.
Oh,
So.
awesome. Well, I really appreciate that, because I think we all need to be on the same page as a team and working together, coming with ideas. We all want the same thing. We would like our students to achieve high achievement, and we need everyone helping. So I really appreciate that, and yeah, I think it will be great if we can continue working together. And again, like you were saying, asking before, hey, we need more time, and we will need to meet and see. Absolutely. And there will be obstacles, there will be challenges, but if we can all together work on finding those, I think it will be great.
Thank you. Ilda?
Thank you. I think,
Did
you
you
ha-
press your mic?
yes, I did.
I can't see it. I can't hear you.
I did. Just to add a little bit more of what everyone has already said, I agree. The middle school mainly has always been a problem school, and I always blame it on hormones. I think you and your team have some great plans in place, and I also think that this should be blown up, this chart, blown up and put in every classroom. Yes. That way everybody knows what the expectations are. If you do A, B will happen. And if you continue to do A, C will happen.
Yeah.
That way the kids know, the teachers know, and there's no guessing.
Yeah.
And if a teacher points to a kid and says, okay, you've already done A and B, so now C. Mm-hmm. So you have to go to the principal's office, or you have to go wherever, whatever the next step is. And I think maybe this you can also take it to the next step and put it in, because you have time, put it in the student binders that are going to go home. This is what's to be expected of your student. That way you don't have to keep having these conversations. And hopefully encourage the kids to have the parents put it on the refrigerator. That way when you call home, because the same kids are having the same problems, you can refer to the minor teacher managed, or if the behavior continues, and this is what happens, let's look at that. Absolutely. Because this continues to be a problem. It was a problem when my daughter first started there. And I think the difference from then to now is that you guys previously, you, and then now you're addressing it differently. You're grabbing the bull by the horn. Because I know when my daughter was there 8-9 years ago, I can't even remember when, I know for a fact that principal used to tell his staff not to report a lot of the incidences. I know for a fact. And a lot of those kids have graduated from high school, and a lot of those kids have brought that behavior home, and the parents have accepted it. And some of the parents were also the problem, without, sticking people out. I'm not naming any names, and they know who they are. The ones that are quick to jump to come to the school. Oh, my Johnny would never do that. Instead of saying, well, what was Johnny involved in? I think we as parents need to take that initiative instead of just believe in what Johnny said. This is what happened. Go to the school. We need to encourage the parents to come to the schools, come to your child's school, and ask questions. And we encourage the teachers and the staff to treat them with respect and to listen to them. But it's got to be vice versa. The parent can't be screaming and yelling.
Yep.
You know, because I've seen it. Because I used to hang out I shouldn't say hang out. I used to stay at the middle school in the mornings just to see what was going on when my daughter first started. So I know a lot of this stuff from firsthand, from experience. I'm not making it up. It's not hearsay. It's things that I've seen. And a lot of that stuff, you know, just wasn't dealt with. Mm-hmm. You know, so I appreciate that you are taking a different approach. And again, I think you should blow it up, put it in each classroom.
Absolutely.
Put it in the hallways, everywhere, so everybody knows they're all on the same page.
Yes, if you go to the elementary school, we made posters, and actually each of those pages is a different poster. So we have 3 posters. They are plastered in every classroom, but absolutely, we should be including that in the handbook, for example, and then sharing with the parents. And absolutely, yeah, it's a great idea. Thank you.
Tracy, you look like you want to say something.
I do. I'd like to offer the board, my plan is to give you an update every 2 weeks for as long as we need to do the updates. We have a plan. You pay me a lot of money to make the leadership decision for schools. I have an expert team, significant amount of years of experience. I would love the opportunity for the board to give us a chance to get this going and to be as positive in your ambassadorship in the community about this. I'll give you an update every 2 weeks. I promise you we all want the same things. If you listen to the stories, to just the comments that pop up, this has been decades of issues. Everyone's aware of them. We're trying to make a change in support of the kids in the community, but we got to have a chance to do that. So I'm respectfully asking, I'll give you an update every 2 weeks on all the things we're monitoring. If we could just get it up. You know, the negativity put out into the universe doesn't help us at all. I really want an opportunity to make this work. It's something that keeps me up at night because I'm getting the district off the opportunity list, and this school is going to be turned around. I promise you that. I just need a chance.
Thank you. Is there anybody who hasn't spoken who would like to speak, like to say something? Otherwise, I think we're going to move on. Is there anybody who hasn't spoken? Who wants to speak? Katina, you look like you're going to, I won't say what you look like you're going to do, but.
I just, thank you, Chairperson. Can we make these posters on the positive side too? Like we're looking at what the negative consequences are and how to deal with that. Hey, but what happens if the kids are all behaving?
And that's exactly what the rest of his plan is all about. And I also want to invite the board members, please come to our schools to see these things in action. I assure you, you will see the positive results of this plan. North Windham School is a prime example of that. I just invite you to come in. Right, Amy? I know that they can come anytime, right? And when it comes to presenting improvement plans like this, if we presented just the restorative practices piece without the consequence, someone would say there's no consequences. You're not teaching the kids in real life what happens when they break the rules. And if you present just the consequences, they say, what happens to the positive stuff? So there's really no way to win. So again, I just ask for your patience in giving us a chance to try.
We do daily announcements on celebrating every student. So we have a list of students. Teachers will submit that. And when we went with Ms. Majak, we went to the classrooms at the very beginning, trying to sense what were the rewards they will love the most. And way higher than the pizza party was hearing their names being announced every morning as achievers. And that's what we kept doing every single day.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming this evening. Appreciate the rest of the team from Windham Middle School and from North Windham School being here. Thanks. So we have a few items for discussion. The first one is the September 9th and 10th board retreat. So I took the notes from our round robin listing of ideas for the board retreat, and there are a number of items on that list that had 2 or 3 or 4 votes, and some items that may not get onto the board retreat but will be a workshop discussion at a board meeting or a session at a board meeting. So Dr. Youngberg and I are working out the details on the agenda. At this point, I'd like the board members to plan to be at the retreat on Friday, the 9th of September from noon until 5 p.m. So we'll start with a quick lunch, and then we'll go and do work until 5 p.m. And then on the 10th, 8:30 in the morning to 1:30 in the afternoon with, you know, a light breakfast at the beginning and some light lunch. So I know some of you have to make arrangements for childcare or leaving work early or things of that sort. So this is just so you can start planning. And obviously, if you can't make it right at noon or you have to leave at 4:45 or something, just let me know so we can time the discussions to include as many of you as possible, okay? And the location will be confirmed next month when we know more about our facilities that will be available, okay? Does anybody have any questions, concerns they want to raise about the retreat? Okay. Is there anything you want to say about it, Dr. Youngberg? Are you all set?
No, I'm going to just give you a final list of things that I think from all the feedback we received, and we can approve it so we're certain we're on the same page that way.
Okay, okay. So now I'm going to hand it over. Who's going to lead the Hispanic Federation Hunger Relief Program donation? It's pretty, well, I don't really need to hand it over. It was in our packet, but do you want to say anything about it?
Just that one of our teachers at the middle school, Ms. Bonet, has been given this opportunity to provide groceries to families here in Willimantic. So we're looking for the board to support this particular donation that's going to directly impact families right here in town.
Any questions on that? Paula, you look like you were going to ask a question.
No, I was just wondering, they recommend a matching. Is that something that's absolutely mandatory or something that we're going to work on trying to do? Matching, I guess, a monetary amount and other items or services.
The district isn't doing anything in addition to this. Is that what you're asking?
Okay, yeah,
We weren't
that's-
planning on it.
Okay.
We were just looking for the board to accept what they're offering.
All right, thank you.
Hispanic Federation is an organization I work with in my job on a regular basis. They're a wonderful organization, so, and I know you need to, so
Oh, okay.
it's great to see that. Anybody else?
Do they need us to help them pass it out or something?
I could find out from Ms. Bonet if that's the case. She didn't say anything about it, just that she hoped the board would approve the donation.
Okay, so the next thing is budget surplus, and because we neglected to put the Finance and Audit Committee report on the agenda, we met at 6 o'clock this evening, so I'm going to ask Mark, the chair of that committee, to give a report from that, which will help set this up.
Thank you. Yeah, we met at 6 today. We discussed 2 major items. One was the potential available funds from the Board of Ed general funds of $2.3 million by the end of the year. And the committee is going to recommend that we put $500,000 of it into the workman's comp and the remainder into the health insurance fund. And the other thing we discussed was the budget transfers. which we're looking to have an approval of transfers of $269,773 for budget transfers, which again is just balancing out those grant funds and the regular funds.
So, any discussion on this? For people who didn't come to the Finance and Audit Committee, there may be some questions that you have about the surplus or how we're handling it. No? Okay.
The other item, Lynn, I guess I would request that we add to C, to 9C, 9C1 or 9C2, to add the budget transfer approval under action items.
Right. So I would entertain a motion to add to the agenda under C1, action on budget transfers.
Second.
The move by Katina, seconded by Brendan. Any discussion? All those in favor of adding that agenda item? Unanimous. Thank you. So if there are no questions for Mark, I'm just going to clarify for the public, we do have a surplus after we've wrapped up our fiscal year, and the recommendation is we take that surplus and we funnel it into the workers' comp and health insurance fund. We're not allowed to just keep extra money lying around. That's not allowed. So we have to do something with it. So, for people who are watching, they may say, why don't you just hold on to it? Yeah. No. So now we're on to the second reading of policy 4112.8 and 4212.8 on personnel regarding nepotism. Does anybody have any discussion on that particular item, which we're hopefully going to take action on this evening? Okay. Then the second reading on policy 4118.51, 4218.51, and repeal of 6141.33, personnel regarding social media. Anybody have any questions on that proposed policy or discussion?
Just to remind the public that these are recommendations also from our attorneys and how we are complying with our board decision to repeal those that no longer exist and then move to the board those who need extra approval.
Are no longer required, not no longer exist, right? Yeah, okay, yeah. Thanks. Okay, and then the final thing is second reading of policy 4118.52, 4218.52, personnel regarding administrative regulations regarding the use of social media. Any questions, concerns about that discussion? Okay, this is the second time this has come before us. We feel okay to take action on these 3 items when we get down to action. Okay? Thank you. So now we're down to action items. And the first item is action on the proposed notable alumni program that the administration shared with us previous meeting. And I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second, Hilda.
Motion made by Mark, seconded by Ilda. Is there any discussion on that? Mark?
Just a notation. I would hope that, I know we were going to develop a committee I would like them to develop some very specific guidelines, because things like, it's a wonderful program. I think the first recipient is an excellent choice, but come down the line, things like this can get gray and hazy, and if you don't have specific guidelines as to how you're going to select these people. So.
Understood. Thank you. I would just like to add that when we appoint that committee and we're developing guidelines, I want to make sure that we're considering diversity, and we are not just basing the nominations on who can give money or who's a friend of, the athletic director or whatever. I mean, I think we really need to celebrate the wide array of achievements that Windham High School graduates have made, not just 40 and older, but those who are younger and have done notable things too. So I just want to put that out on the table.
Also understood.
Yeah. Katina?
I would like to add that when the group is formed, also some guidelines about how nominations are going to be made and who can they come from. Like we might be asking, I don't know, but the inclusion and social justice issues, not only people who go to college, but all kinds of humans that are contributing to our world.
Any further discussion before we take a vote? Okay, all those in favor of creating the notable alumni program? It's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, next I'll entertain a motion for action on the donation from the Hispanic Federation.
So moved.
Ilda made the motion, seconded. Who?
Second.
Oh, thanks, Paula. Seconded by Paula. Any discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor of accepting this donation? It's unanimous. Thank you. And then we need to have a motion on C. And Mary, you have a motion to read out loud, please.
I make a motion to approve using the available balance, not these, in the Board of Ed General Fund to pre-fund the workers' comp by $500,000 and the remainder of the available balance to pre-fund the health care, the health insurance fund.
Okay, the motion's been made by Mary. Do I get a second? Seconded by Mark. Is there any further discussion on this? I just want to thank Rita and her team for being so good about keeping track of things and making recommendations that are clear and that we can vote on in good faith. Yeah. Surplus 3 years in a row. Well, COVID and ESSER funds have done strange things to our budget. So, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Unanimous. Thank you. And then, Mary, you have
Another
a
motion.
motion on the budget transfers.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve departmental transfers in the amount of $269,773.
Seconded by Katina. Is there any discussion on that? This again is, acting on good information that we've been taking. We've been looking at transfers on a monthly basis, thanks to Rita and her team. And this is just really closing things up and truing things up at the end of the year. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate so by raising your hand. It's unanimous. Thank you. And then we have action on the nepotism policy. I'll entertain a motion.
I would actually make the motion that we take D, E, and F as one
Motion?
vote, one motion.
Second.
Can we? I think as long as it's clearly stated in the motions. I don't know. What do you think, parliamentarian? Okay. So Marcus put a motion to take action on D, E, and F all in one fell swoop. Do I get a second on that? Second. Second by Ilda. Any discussion on these? I want to thank the policy team and the attorney for working together on this. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Okay, we're making progress on those policies, Katina and committee. That's the final action item. So next thing is public comment. Is there anybody who would like to speak during public comment? Mr. Flores, come up for a second bite at the apple. No, come on. Just don't forget to make sure the mic is on.
Push the button and let go.
Moses Flores. That was a good policy. I wish that policy was here 4 years ago when my daughter was here. Yes, or whatever it was. They're gonna do that in Spanish too. They're gonna do it in Spanish too. So I don't know. My kids, I don't got nobody in the middle school, so they're in the high school. But that's only for the middle school only. All the schools. Okay. But yeah, I think more parents need to come. I'm here. This is the first time I stay longer in the meeting. That's what it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak during public comment? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:37.
I move, we move.
Thank you, Brendan. You're like the guy on the talk show who makes the announcements or something. Thank you.
It's like his thing. Hey, I took it over. There's been a long line of people who have had